This is Savvy Wisdom,
the heart-to-heart podcast you didn't know you needed.
hosted by Dr. Tamika Sanders and Cheyennis. Savvy Wisdom is a monthly interactive podcast for women who value their well-being and growth that highlights the unique challenges women face daily.
We talk about the relevant issues, their impact to our well-being, share expert insights, best practices, and provide resources and support for your journey right along with you. Dr. Tamika Sanders has 20 years of experience working with schools and businesses in the areas of training and development, public programming, and leadership development. Her work revolves around bringing a diversity of real-world perspectives into programming initiatives and creating strategic community partnerships that can generate revenue and provide access to resources and opportunities for marginalized groups.
Cheyennis is a multi-talented Cali creative with 20 plus years of extensive banking experience, with a proven track record for driving transformative change and fostering a culture of excellence through process improvement, DEI, strategy planning, and program management. She is also an entrepreneur and focused on intentional well-being, with multiple offerings that allow her clients to connect, learn, inspire, and grow.
It can be uncomfortable trying something new. We want to avoid change so we don't push ourselves to the next level. In today's disruptive and accelerating world, it helps to change your relationship to change and become comfortable with being uncomfortable. Join us as we discuss how stress and discomfort enables us to gain speed, strength, and endurance.
Hello.
Yes.
Welcome to episode 5. We're so excited.
Episode 5.
You there? I know it's crazy. It feels like just January we started talking to you all, and here it is now. Going to be May. Five episodes in. We're so excited. And we're so glad for all of you that are still rocking with us, liking, subscribing. Please continue to do so, because we can't do this without you. We do it for you, but we also need your support, and we want you to make sure that you're listening and you're enjoying the things.
Yes, I'm so excited because today we are talking about getting comfortable and how comfortable we are with getting with discomfort. And ooh, girl, I feel like we are definitely subject matter experts on this.
Yes.
But
yes.
I'm glad that we're going to really be breaking it down today, because even as subject matter experts, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're always comfortable in the face of discomfort. So, yeah.
That is right. And so when we're thinking about today, we want to share not only the definition of what it means to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, but also our own personal journeys. Because like Shai said, we have definitely between this year and last year been through our fair share of just ups and downs and a lot of uncertainty that brings discomfort, right? And so I want to share our words of wisdom with you, but also give you some tips to navigate so that maybe you don't go through as much uncertainty as we did.
Yes. What does it mean being comfortable with being uncomfortable? To be comfortable being uncomfortable is your ability and willingness to embrace unfamiliar, challenging, or uncertain situations as opportunities for growth and learning. So many opportunities.
So many opportunities, and that's a big part of that uncertainty that we want to hit on today. Is that uncertainty builds growth if you go through it. But to just kick it right on off, we're gonna go dig right into the uncomfortable, and just up front as our check-in question, just share what makes you uncomfortable, and how does it make you feel, and how do you react, right? And so we'll share that with you, what makes us uncomfortable, and then we'll dive into the other parts of the episode. So Shai, you want to kick it off?
Oh, I was gonna put you in the hot seat first, but that's okay. So, okay, what makes you uncomfortable? I feel like what makes me uncomfortable sometimes is definitely doing things off the cuff. That's something that makes me uncomfortable, even though even though my soul naturally knows what to do, I still get uncomfortable with being put on the spot. I'm uncomfortable when I am not as versed or experienced in something and I'm being asked about it, especially if it is in a large audience. or if I feel like it's in reference to my credibility, like that makes me uncomfortable. Um, and all the other thing that makes me uncomfortable, which is it's been a whole lot of uncomfy this year, is financial insecurity. That makes
Say
me
that.
very, very uncomfortable, even though I made all of the smart decisions and have done the things that have allowed me to continue to live relatively on par with how I had been living. But that's a conversation for another day. It definitely makes me feel anxious. It makes me feel, when I'm uncomfortable, it can make me feel inadequate. It can
Mhm.
make me feel as if there's something that I'm not doing right, or it can make me feel as if I'm out of place, or as if I feel like those are, I don't know if I'm trying to think of the words or the emotions for that, but those are the things that come up for me. And then how do I react? Sometimes I kind of shut down. I get like, my body gets into that like threatens mode, and I may become maybe a little bit more defensive, especially if I'm being put on the spot and asked about something by someone, and I perceive that the reason they're asking me that question is because they're questioning my integrity or my or my character. So yeah, those are the ways that I react. I want to get out of this hot seat though, because it makes me uncomfortable. So what makes you uncomfortable?
Um, you definitely hit on it with the financial insecurity. And between last year and this year, of just finding that stability again, oh, that was a real danger point for me because in those kind of, we all have our creature comforts, right? The things that we just love and we can't do without. But then it gets down to the real nitty gritty when you're asking about, all right, it's not just where should I go on vacation, but it's just like, oh, the nails and the hair and all those things, you're going to have to forego that because you need to save. And it's not even about vacation, it's about food, it's about mortgage, it's about
Yeah,
bills. And when I get in that insecure kind of financial state, it, at first, I think I panic, but I don't operate good in panic or negative mode. So then I go right into planning. I'm like, all right, what, what we gotta do, what we gotta do, and so that's how I operate. Another thing, because I have, kiddos, I think anything that is related to insecurity around like their safety or their well-being, that also just it gets on me. And again, I'm an actor, so I go in and I act. If my kiddo's getting bullied at school, or God forbid the day that they turn 16 and they're going to be driving, and me having a black boy, I'm like, I'm going to be that mom that's like, I'm not going to sleep until they get home because
yeah,
not all of us get to come home at night. And so it's those kind of things that also keep me up and make me really nervous and anxious. But they're only 9, so I have time to go. But those are some of those other things that just, that keep me up at night and trying to plan the best that I can, because that's what I do in my uncertainty is I try to plan. That helps
yeah.
me feel a little bit better and a little bit more prepared. And so that my planning mode kicks in, and sometimes overly, but at least I feel secure and I can sleep and I can let some of the anxiety and uncertainty kind of ebb and flow a little bit better. So that's
I
what I do.
love
I feel like a
that.
plan.
I
So yeah.
I love that because, well, it just made me think about or remind me that, I mean, I'm a planner as well. And it's for some reason, sometimes during that uncertainty, I forget, girl, you've already planned for this. Like, this was the worst case scenario. And like you're actually, things are okay. So just remembering that like you've already done that work up front, so you don't actually have to worry in the now, right? But that also reminds me of something that I actually saw on social media earlier today. And it was talking about when you worry about something, when you have anxiety over something. I know society teaches us that to worry is to care, is to love. However, when you are worrying about things that haven't happened, or worrying about people, you're actually potentially robbing them of their protection, and you're taking the energy away from. You're actually doing the exact opposite, because you're starting to attract that energy that you're like, because you're seeking it. The universe is like, okay, you're worried this is going to happen. Well, let's bring that to you and see how you see what you do with that. Then, since you want it so bad.
That's a great point.
Yeah, so literally just saw that today. So I feel like this was a good check-in question, definitely a good check-in
Mhm.
question for us,
Yes, I
um,
love it.
and
All right, I'm
something
gonna
to
have to
think
just not
about.
dwell on the negative. There we go. We don't want to bring
Yeah,
that to us.
we don't, and that's what we do. Like literally this entire year, it. Like, worrying about like, okay, yes, we have put things into place so that we will be okay for the time
Mhm.
being. Why are we stealing from now and from tomorrow by worrying about something that hasn't happened or that we think is going to happen? Like we're giving all of our energy to that lack instead of that abundance. So guess
There you,
what? Law of attraction, then you're gonna attract the lack.
there
And
you go.
that's whack. I don't know if I'm gonna like, you know what? I don't know.
I
Do I
love
need to
it.
make
You
a
know what?
series of t-shirts?
The lack is whack. I love it. We're gonna keep that. But
Oh
no,
my
I
goodness. Yeah.
agree. So this is the thing I want to talk about a lot is the change cycle. I
Yes.
um, do a lot of workshops, and I
Yes,
get
you
to kind
do.
of go through this model with people when they're thinking about change. And every time we have a decision to face, whether we want to move to another city, we want to leave our jobs, we want to, marry someone, or, sell our home. Any of these things, these are decisions that we're making constantly, right? And
Yeah.
every time we go through these decisions, we go through this change cycle. And
Yeah.
in it, this cycle could happen very fast. So you could go through these actions I'm going to talk about
Mhm.
in like 2, 3 minutes and make your decision. But sometimes they're really big decisions, like deciding whether to get a divorce or leave your job and start your own company. Those are decisions that could take a very long time, could take years, and they may not ever actually reach the end or completion of the cycle. You may stop somewhere. And so I'm going to go through this a little bit. When you first have that decision, you kind of go through stage one, which is that loss of giving up what's comfortable and what's familiar, and then the fear of the unknown. Right? When you move on to that, you go through doubt of thinking, "Am I going to be able to do this? Am I good enough? Is it going to be successful? What if I fail?" All of the doubt and worry that goes with making a new decision and trying something new. And then you get into stage three, which is like this called the discomfort. And this is where you might be confused and anxious. And you're right kind of in the middle, where we call that danger zone, is where if you are so uncomfortable and anxious and afraid and doubtful that your new change is not going to turn out well, you get stuck in that danger zone and you never move to the rest of it. So that's starting that new business, leaving that job. Many people stay in that danger zone, so they never do anything else and they stay stuck in that place, and the decision and the change stops there. But if you can move past the danger zone, you get to this place of discovery where you're learning a lot of new things. You are deciding that I'm scared, but actually this is worth it. And then with that, you get to the understanding stage, which is just learning how to deal with the new normal, and all of the new opportunities that are coming from that change. And then stage six is just that integration, where you find your new normal and your new way of working, and that change cycle is complete. But Shy, we have been through this, like in our life right now. We are going through this, like thinking about
Yeah.
where you are on your journey with, with your jewelry, with
Yeah.
your coaching. Where do you think you are right now in
Oh
some of
my
those
goodness.
decisions of what you're
Yes.
going?
So I feel like I'm kind of in that age. I feel like it's stages 4, 5, and 6. Like my life isn't necessarily linear. I mean, even when you think about the way that I read books, and it's like, okay, I know that there are nuggets that I can glean from this for now, and my senses are that I'm going to need the rest of this when I'm ready to receive the rest of this, right? Um, so I would say definitely discovery because it's like that feeling of anticipation, that thoughts are resourceful and energized, which is literally right where I'm at with this beautiful body of personal body jewelry that I have been creating and wearing in different kinds of ways. I've gone ahead and modified the necklace you always see me wearing. And now this is actually my personal body jewelry that I can wear as a body chain, as a necklace, as a hand chain. And so I'm like, all right, what do I need to do to make more of these to share this? Because it's been giving this jewelry has been giving me life, right? And then it's that understanding and that confidence. Like I've been showing up, girl. This word that kept coming up for me in my recent events was showing up audaciously. And also what I mean by showing up audaciously is, showing up with my beautiful crowns, like who does this woman think she is wearing a crown on a Tuesday in a Costco? Or who does this woman think she is? But it's like, hey, that is me. I'm that girl, and I definitely. So I know the jewelry that I'm making is Alien Superstar. You know how we love us some Beyonce Renaissance. So I'm like, I need to spread this, and I'm having that confidence of like, don't you want some of this too? I know you do. um, and so then being the pragmatic and productive and making things happen with it. And then there's the integration, which is my favorite as a generator. I know you can relate to in terms of being your true self and getting to that feeling of satisfaction. That is our love language. And the thoughts are focused and they are generous. And so I know for me, that's why I make sure I keep my clear quartz as well as my Herkimer diamond always nearby to help with that clarity, manifestation, and focus. So that's the answer to that question as to where I am in the change cycle. Where do you feel you are in the change cycle
Um,
with the things that you've been, working towards and developing?
Oof, there's a couple big things. Mostly the things I think the stage I'm in is discovery right now. That's a big
Yeah.
part right now because I'm in the Entrepreneurship Acceleration Academy with Impact
Yes.
AZ. Super excited about that. Learning about big government contracts, getting capital, just all of the scaling your business things that I've been wanting to do and learn for such a long time so that I can grow and be more successful. And like most small businesses, take myself out of it so the business doesn't revolve around me, right? But there is
Yeah.
so much learning that it
Whew.
sometimes makes me want to go back in that danger zone of discomfort because there's so
Yes.
much. And feel like, am I ever really going to get all of it? Also, with our fund, Shine are researching starting a fund to help
Yes.
women entrepreneurs because we need that, especially those women entrepreneurs of color, right? And
Yes.
so that's another lesson that we are getting thrown in the fire pan, like getting
Yes,
all of
we are.
putting it together and really, really, but we want to do this. It's something we want to do. And in
Yeah.
this limited amount of time that we both have, we're crowding all of these things into it. So it is really uncomfortable right now, but the discovery of what we can do and the potential,
Yes.
it outweighs the discomfort of learning all those new things. So I'm still stuck in the discovery, but some
Yeah.
days, girl, I'm pushed right into that discomfort of, oh, do I really want to do this?
Girl,
So
I know.
that's where I
Yeah.
am right now.
That's
But
amazing.
pushing forward, and I'm glad I've got you there with me. So
That really makes the difference. I know we've talked at nauseum about support systems, but it is something about getting words or ahas or sounds or reactions of I know we don't need to seek validation from others, but it is so encouraging when someone is hyped up about something that you are working on and you're doing, or they give you that signal of, yes, yes, you need to do that. You need to have done that yesterday. So it's so cool having that with you, of us like hyping, continue to hype each other up, because it is very scary. It is
So
very
scary.
scary. Yeah. And so with that, it's like, okay, so what are the signs of discomfort? Yeah, why don't you get into that?
Yeah. So we're all in these situations sometimes where we are either we're feeling uncomfortable, or something that we're doing maybe be causing that discomfort for someone else. And it's always
Yeah,
really good to recognize the signs, not just for yourself, but for other people, especially
yeah,
in situations where you don't knowingly want to be causing discomfort. You want to be aware of it so you can kind
yeah,
of, change tactics or change your style. But some of the things really, it's crossed arms and legs, it's that lack of eye contact. It could be fidgeting with their hair or clothing. If they're really nervous, they could be twirling their hair, playing with their earrings, or like messing with their shirt. Or if they're looking at their watch, a lot, like, oh, it's kind of time to go. You want to probably readjust and reevaluate how you're communicating, how you're coming off, if you're not wanting to cause that discomfort. And then also recognize what you do when you're uncomfortable. And I think for me, I think the crossing the arms and the distance is something that I do when I'm uncomfortable. I will try to back away and almost kind of create an invisible wall between me and whatever is causing the discomfort. And sometimes it is straight just, the Black girl. We got the nod, we cross our arms, and you're like, I'm not having it. So, what about you, Shy?
I feel like it might be lack of eye contact, because I am someone who I tend to give a lot of eye contact when I'm talking to people. Although I know I interact with a lot of people virtually, and depending on the placement of the cameras, so that that can kind of impact that, right? But in person, I generally give a lot of eye contact, for different reasons, right? So if you kind of start to see me avert my eyes, or whatnot, then that's probably a sign that I am either checking out, I'm uncomfortable, or there is something.
I like the checking out. You're like, I'm done. I'm checked out.
Yeah, but that's not always to necessarily be taken, personally, because again, I'm a generator. I am me, and I always have a lot of thoughts that are going on in my mind simultaneously. And I am someone who is consistently working on being fully present, and not, even when I'm not physically multitasking, my brain is multitasking. And that's something, yeah, so that's definitely something that could maybe be giving false body language in terms of my
There you go.
discomfort, I
And
should
that's a good
say.
point to talk about, because your body language, even though we have these and we're talking about the body language is also really cultural. So
Yes,
someone not making eye contact with you might be a sign of respect if they feel you're superior, right? If they're not touching you,
yeah,
especially if they're opposite sex, men and women, it may be part of their culture not
yeah,
to touch women or men that are outside of their family. So some of these things you
yeah,
have to kind of take with a grain of salt, and think about the context and the people you're with, because not all of these
yeah,
are going to be true across the board. But if not, at least notice what makes you uncomfortable and what body
yeah,
language you exhibit when you are, so that you know, and you can realize and kind of trigger in and say, all right, I am not comfortable right now. And then examine why. Is it because you're afraid, you're anxious,
yeah,
or this is something that is actually really challenging you? And think about it. Is it an opportunity for you to grow, or is it something where you actually feel danger or anxiety, and then you want to make sure that you back away? But it's a moment for you to pause and think, why am I so uncomfortable right now?
and because I know I talk a lot about energy work that I've been diving into, but um, so there's your conscious and your subconscious, right? So your subconscious already knows what the feeling is. It's just waiting for your consciousness to catch up and to recognize that. But because of that, your subconscious is emitting that energy anyway, even if you're not verbalizing it, even if you're not fully aware of it yourself, and that energy that you're emitting is transferring itself to that other person. And guess what? Now you've got this force field of reactionary energy. So I would definitely say that's why it is important to get to I love how you simplify this process so that you can check yourself on that, get into the alignment so that you are not inadvertently sending mixed signals. Because it's then you get to the point of opportunity or threat, and the sooner you can get to opportunity, the sooner the other person's defense mechanisms can come down as well, right?
Exactly. And then you're communicating on the same level. Yeah.
Yes. So I
But
love that.
yeah. And you bring up a good point about change, right? Change
Yeah.
is just a part of life. We're always going to be changing, right? And if we don't, and change is usually where people's discomfort starts. Something is changing, whether it is something they've done their whole life or something that just changed forcibly, someone
Yes.
passed away or just sudden things that you have no control over. And all of a sudden you're thrust into this chaos of change and you
Yeah.
don't want to go kicking and screaming, right?
Yeah.
Or you don't know what to do with this new change and this new situation that just got thrown in your lap, right?
Yeah.
But there are real consequences for not changing, right? And so, Shai, what are some of those things? Like, if you're not willing to change and deal with the discomfort,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that can happen?
Yeah, so there are a number of them, and we've simplified it to the top four. I would say the one that resonates most with me is missed innovation. So resisting change, can cause you to miss out on opportunities for innovation and improvement. I'm Lean Six Sigma certified, so continuous improvement is in my DNA. And when I am finding myself in that danger zone of the change cycle, then I am blocking my blessings on figuring out what's necessary to get out of that danger zone, right? Because I'm limiting my view, I'm limiting my perspective into that lack perspective, even, right? All of it is interrelated. Um, then there is if you are missing out on innovation, you are becoming obsolete. Um, you are becoming obsolete because you are unable to keep pace with the shifting demands and the expectations. Because people know, hey, there is something better, there is a better way of doing this, and you're not keeping up. Whatever that thing is. I know we could take this to so many levels as to what this type of change could actually mean, stairs in women of color. but but there's also then that can also lead to missed opportunities. So by staying in your comfort zone, you may miss out on exciting opportunities for learning, adventure, and personal enrichment, and people reaching out to you to work with you, to collaborate with you, to support you in what it is that you're doing. Which then there's also stagnation, and that leads to a stagnant and an unfulfilling life, which again, as a generator, like that is like, I'd say that's kind of like a death sentence for us.
Yes. Yes. If I'm not changing, I'm dying. Like I need to be changing. And that
Yeah,
could be changing my nails, my hair, my environment, my
yeah,
mindset. Like if I am not changing and learning something new and growing, and if I'm not better last year or last month than I was the month of the year before, I feel like a failure because that is not an option for me. And like you
yeah,
said, as generators, we are constantly generating change and if
yeah,
and inspiring it, right? And so
yeah,
if we can't generate, our wheel can't move, we stop, and that is like
yeah.
death to us. It is an absolute.
Oh my
I
God.
loved the missed opportunities too because
Yeah,
you reminded me of someone recently you met. And it was just because you took the time to stop and walk with a lady that,
Yes.
kept on going. And all of a sudden just that walking with her to the next, conference or workshop you were going opened up this amazing friendship,
Oh,
and potential clients, potential friends, business ventures that would not have
yeah.
happened had you just kept on going about your way and not took the time to entertain and kind of befriend, this lady that you didn't have to, right? And
Yeah.
so I think those missed opportunities when you have new people, new opportunities, new ventures that you could try, you
Yeah.
really are robbing yourself of the opportunity to grow and change and reach a level that maybe you didn't even think was possible for yourself. And so
Right.
those two, stagnation and those missed opportunities, those are big for me.
Yeah. And I kind of
Become an
see it as
obsolete.
I do see it as a continuous cycle too. Because as I was thinking about that, I'm like, I don't know which comes first, if this is like one of those chicken and the egg type of things, but it's definitely similar to, and there are some parallels, especially as you were talking about, not having the option of growing. Yes, part of that is in our nature and in our design. But then also, when we go back to the origins of, our podcast is Superwoman syndrome and those stressors, you see how then you think about like all those stressors and pressures on why growth, the lack of growth, is definitely not is going to be problematic for us, especially with all of our
Yeah.
different layers and identities. So
Being obsolete is another one too, because I don't know
yeah.
about you, but I feel like I'm too amazing to ever be forgotten. So
Oh,
I want
I
to walk
love
into a
that.
room, I want to be remembered, and I
Yes.
don't want to be doing anything that's going to make me obsolete and forgotten or forgettable. To me, that is also like an ultimate death. If I walked into a room and no one remembered me, and I wasn't. Uh, um, I don't need to say the belle of the ball, but I wasn't memorable and
Yeah.
engaging. That is also a problem for me because I'm like, I got a lot to offer and I don't just throw it out there.
Yeah.
It just generates for me, on its own. But that's a really important thing. Don't be forgotten. Don't be so um, and this is, I'm gonna say this. Some people go be mad, but AI, right? There's some of my friends that
Yeah.
are on social media and will never get on social media because they feel like they don't need to. They're getting left behind. There's people that are
Yeah.
afraid right now of AI, which they should be, because it could be a lot of people are afraid it's going to take their careers, it's going to take their jobs. But at the same time, AI is here, whether you like it or not, it's here. And so it's
Yeah.
like, you may not love it, but you need to at least know how it works, get
Yeah.
along with it. And also for efficiency, see what it can do to help you, make your life a little bit easier, or a little bit more efficient, so that there's processes that you may not have to keep doing over that AI is able to do very simply. But again, people are afraid of that change, so they're complaining, they're dragging their feet, and they're gonna get left behind. And so
Yeah.
don't be that person that becomes obsolete because you refuse to change. So, because the change is going to happen with or without you. You can either get on the bus or get left behind. So,
It's an opportunity. When we think about the opportunity there, it's an opportunity to free yourself to focus on the things that are more fulfilling, more value add, that you do get a lot of joy out of, right? Especially as entrepreneurs, as solopreneurs, it is very, very critical. I know a lot of our listeners are wonderful, divine founders, right, of their own businesses and offerings respectively. And so I love that. So I think, now that we kind of we definitely understand what the consequences are of avoiding change, it would be worth it for us to talk about, how do we become comfortable with being uncomfortable? So you want to kick us
yeah.
off on that?
Yeah, and I'll start with the number one is just taking the risks and the challenges. do something that makes you a little bit afraid. And I
Yeah.
say that because it creates new wrinkles in the brain. It lets
Yeah.
you trust yourself in a way that you wouldn't have either. And it can show you new skills and again, new parts of yourself that you didn't even know existed, which is really important. Um, Another one I like is just being comfortable being in different social settings. A lot of times as people of color,
Mm.
I'm usually the only one of my kind in a room. So I'm very used to this. But some of you are very lucky
Yeah.
because you're always mostly in a room with people that look like you. So challenge yourself
Yeah.
to purposely go into rooms where you are not the majority, but you are the minority and see how that feels. Get Look at see where that discomfort comes from, explore it
Yeah.
and get over it and get comfortable with being the only in that room because there is power in that. And there's also some reflection and learning that can be done when you realize, this is how the other side feels being the minority all the time.
Yeah.
Not just out of
Yeah.
choice, but all the time. And so I think that's
Yeah.
a really good lesson to learn. What about you, Shai? Which ones stand out to you the
Ooh.
most?
I mean, so again, with my particular design, exploring new experiences and trying new things and taking risks and challenges, like that's I feel like that's something that I've done throughout my life. I'm a world traveler. I can do a number of creative and artistic things. And so, let's see, those are the things that I think I naturally gravitate towards or naturally do. It's the getting comfortable with being different. So I enjoy my individuality. I enjoy expressing myself. I I actually do like being different. I just don't like the discomfort that I had been associating with being different. And what I love about this is, so challenge your limiting beliefs, ideas, or opinions of yourself or others. I think that is a big one. And again, with all of the different things, you think about being a woman, you think about being black, you think about, I am also queer. I am also Buddhist. So I have these different identities and these different things about me that aren't necessarily the norm. And because of that, I have these things that have been conditioned in my mind to make me, have particular limiting beliefs about myself, which then impacts, again, the way I'm showing up in the world. It also impacts the energy that I'm emitting and sending mixed signals on. Are you comfortable? Is she cozy or not? So,
Ooh, I love
yeah,
that. And we talked about that one a lot, that being comfortable with being different. And as being Black women in corporate spaces or just other spaces,
yeah,
we don't have a choice. We're always
yeah,
showing up different, whether we want to. And then we have to choose how different do we want to be? And what choices do we
yeah,
want to give up that might play with our authenticity, right? Choosing whether or
yeah.
not to wear braids, choosing whether or not to wear your authentic kind of,
And
if
my
you have cultural
adornments,
jewelry
yes,
and all of those things, right? Being comfortable with, head wraps or ties or any of these things that you would normally
yeah,
do that are really who you are in that space. You're already different because of this. And then you're even more different
yeah,
with the way that we adorn ourselves with our hair and our clothing, our mannerism.
yeah,
And so even the conversations we talk about of what we did
yes,
on the weekend or the hobbies we enjoy, we are always code switching in that way. And so it's getting comfortable with being different in that state and knowing that that's who you are, but then you have to choose
yeah,
how different do you want to be, and then also are there consequences to that for you, right? And so
yeah,
it is a choice, and it is a ooh, it's a difficult thing that, well, I don't even want to say it's a choice. It's not a choice that we as people of color get to make in those spaces, but we do have to decide
yeah,
how different we want to be. Do we want to just all the way code switch and be straight laced,
yeah,
black person and white person, kind of body
yeah,
and that corporate, just, straight laced type? or still bring that part of yourself
Yeah.
and who you are, even in that corporate space. So your true identity of who you are still shows through. So,
Wow.
but
That's
we
like,
are
I feel like
different.
you're speaking on my journey though. You're definitely speaking on my journey, and a journey that a lot I'm finding, because I was, again, we were always like the only ones. And so when you have that phenomenon, or that dynamic, that experience of being the only one, you don't realize that there are others like you that are going through those
Yeah.
same experiences. And so I even just think about how, I only got to really express myself in my fullness, and with all of my adornments. I would wait until like April to go to Coachella to show up in this kind of way, and that was the thing that was known. And outside of those 3-4 days at Coachella, it was very, very straight laced. I was on my Claire Huxtable. She was an influence for me at a particular stage in my really corporate wear.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really, that you definitely do bring up a good point. And I know something in the last few years, and I know a lot of it was triggered by summer of 2020. A lot of us have been returning to self, have been returning to culture, have been returning to what makes us come alive, and
Yeah.
recognizing that these are things that were birthrights, actually. These are things that
For
were
sure.
birthrights.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are things
Mhm.
that were birthrights, but we've been conditioned to believe that didn't belong to us, or that we couldn't own or stand in. And so I'm just really excited about exploring that for myself, and having the freedom to explore that for myself. But I know that there are so many others that are also trailblazing and doing what it is that they do to help break down those barriers, so that we can do this more consistently, regardless of the environment, and not feel like, well, then you have to go do that type of thing over there if you want to show up as yourself. Because I don't agree with that. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the way that it should be. And
Yeah.
life is too short. The earth is too beautiful. There's too much, joy and abundance and beauty to be limiting ourselves.
Yeah. No, agreed. Agreed. No, all of that. I love all of it. It's being who you are, but unfortunately for us, it comes at a cost. Like
It
I
does.
remember, and sometimes it's not even other people; it's us. We put it on ourselves. I remember
Yes.
when the whole natural hair thing was coming out. I had there was a girl. She had just started in our HR department, and she had this beautiful afro, and like the other black women in the office, not the other,
Oh
non
my
people of color,
gosh.
they actually were like, if you wanna, you're gonna need to, tame that mane if you're wanting to fit in and move up around here. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, like I felt so bad for her, but in my inside, I was thinking they're giving her the advice, but I'm also like, why does she have to choose whether or not she wants to wear her natural hair or not?
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I just and so I just kind of took her aside, like, hey, you take their advice for however you want it. If that's the way you choose to wear your hair, that's the way you choose. Now there might be consequences for it, and if you're okay with that, you're okay with that. That's who you are. I was like,
Yeah.
but don't feel like their advice is the only choice that you have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was, yeah, I used to, black women, we love changing our hair. Girl, when I work in corporate, I
Yeah.
don't change my hair. I'll maybe change it once or twice a year, but y'all see me throughout the
Yeah.
show. Almost every month I had a different hairstyle because I love doing
Yeah.
that. But in corporate
Yeah.
spaces, it raises too much attention. Then people are coming every week just to see what new hair you have. And it's like you become a spectacle versus just something that you like to do for yourself
Yeah.
to make yourself feel good. And so it's like there's certain things like that we
Yeah.
don't necessarily feel comfortable doing in those spaces because it draws unwanted attention. And so, but it
I'm
is
ready
what it
for
is.
I'm ready for all that to come down, to be honest. Girl, it's like I hear you, I feel you. Trust me, I know
Yeah,
this. I have 20 plus experience living that life, but I'm also really here for it on that
yeah,
being disrupted.
Exactly.
I'm here for it. So
Yes. And shout out to all
well,
my younger folks in the workplace, my millennials and others. Y'all are doing that. You are being your authentic self and you're making employers think
Gen
about
Z,
this is the way we, Gen Z also, this is the way we show up to work. And either you
yes,
take us or leave us because we can choose to go somewhere else. There is always someone else,
yes, yes.
hiring. So it's like either choose me the way I am or I can choose someone else. And I love that spirit and that attitude.
And these are things that I'm so excited about exploring as I start school in, let's see, in 2 weeks. And I decided because I am doing organizational psychology and consumer psychology, but I decided to start my track with the organizational psychology. And again, all these things we talk about, all of these revelations that we are having, the perspectives that we have, the life experience that we have from being in the different stages and levels of employment and what all of that looks like, and also recognizing the things that we have had to shift and actually change on ourselves even through our careers. And I feel like since 2020 it's been like even at an even more rapid pace. I am really excited about exploring all of that and how it impacts organizational psychology, because it's the same people that are it's the same people that are seeing all of the things that we are seeing, that are either in positions of power or are in positions of serving purpose of those who are in power. And yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot to dig in on that. So I think this was
Yeah.
a great conversation today. I'm so glad that we got to get to this space because it lays the groundwork for what we're going to be talking about in our next episode, which is on getting out of your own way. Ooh, getting out of your
Yes.
way so you can stop blocking your blessings. But like, you can't really do
Yes.
that until you understand, those very core topics that we've been talking about of, understanding when you're operating in superwoman mode, of understanding when you have not set yourself up with the proper support system, recognizing when you have not been properly loving yourself right, representing, understanding when you have not been in balance, and then
Mhm.
getting uncomfortable with the discomfort and being okay with the unknown. Like, oh my goodness, yes,
Yeah. I'm excited about getting out of your own way because both of us are going through so much change right now,
yes,
and we could easily be blocking our blessings if we are not being mindful of all that we've learned on this journey and
yeah,
making sure that we are not blocking those blessings because you don't know where they're coming from. They could be coming from people, from technology, or just things in your life, but don't block it, but be ready for it because that's the other thing. You don't want to get to where you're going and you say, "Oh, I want all this stuff," which me and Shai were talking about. There's so
yes,
many things, and sometimes all of it comes to you at once.
oh my
And if not,
gosh, yes.
you're not ready. You could be saying no to some stuff and blocking your blessings when it's like you should have been getting ready. What they say, stay ready so you don't have to get
If
ready.
you don't if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. Sugar free.
Yes. So don't block your blessings, but be prepared when the blessings come because they may come in abundance, right? That's what we are shouting,
Yeah.
abundance. And you have to be ready for them.
Yes,
So,
and again, don't want to give too much away. We gave it away in one of our clips, but that abundance is definitely going to be coming up in the future here. So, this
definitely
was
will.
awesome. This was beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm so excited. It's like spring on the cusp of summer. This is where I really come to life. This is where we really, really, really start to shine. And this is a good time.
Yes, so
Thank
we're so
you.
excited that you are joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share because again, we do this for you, and we
Yes.
can't wait for to see you next time with our next episode. But until
Yes.
then,
Yes, yes,
take
yes.
care, share, learn, and just keep tuning in. Thank you all.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business or educational consulting needs.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business and individual needs.
We hope you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram.
Join us next time as we discuss getting out of your own way. Have you ever felt like you were your own worst enemy, standing in the way of your own success and happiness? Well, we'll explore how self-doubt, fear of failure, and limiting beliefs can act as roadblocks on the path to realizing your full potential. Join us as we uncover the common ways we sabotage ourselves, whether it's through negative self-talk, perfectionism, or clinging to comfort zone.